Their Excellencies, the Right Honourable Dame Patsy Reddy, Governor-General of New Zealand, and Sir David Gascoigne.
Taea, taea. Taea tēnei momo, taea tēnā momo, whakatairangatia. Whakamānawatia te toki atu, whakamānawatia te rau ōrongo. Oi whiwhia te tohu, oi rawea te tohu, oi tamaua te tohu, taumata rautia te tohu, haumi e, hui e, tai e.
I ngā mana, i ngā reo, i ngā iwi o ngā hō e whā. Tēnei aku mihi mahana ki a koutou. Kia ora tātou katoa. Nau mai haere mai rā ki te whare kawana. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, warm greetings to you all and welcome to Government House. I specifically acknowledge Philip O'Shea, Herald of Arms Extraordinary, our kuia Te Ripuai Higgins, and our kaumātua, Professor Piri Shasha, tēnā koutou. It is a great pleasure to host this investiture ceremony and bring together 19 honour recipients, along with their family and friends, to recognise the contributions they've made to our country. As Governor-General, I have the authority and the privilege, on behalf of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the Queen of New Zealand, to hold an investiture for her and to confer the honours to which each recipient is entitled. Ladies and gentlemen, as each one is honoured, I invite you to join me in congratulating and thanking them for their service to our country. Mr. Hewitt Humphrey will now summon the recipients and read a citation for each one.
Your Excellency, to receive the honour of knighthood and the insignia of a Knight Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Sir Paul Adams of Tauranga for services to philanthropy and the community. Sir Paul Adams was appointed a Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit in 2015 for his services to business and philanthropy, and since then has continued to hold a range of patronages, trusteeships and leadership positions for a variety of charitable and community organisations. Sir Paul is the patron of the IHC Bay of Plenty and Te Tuinga Whānau Support Trust. In 2015, he became patron of Waipuna Hospice, Tauranga, following 12 years as a trustee. As chairman of Accessible Properties, IHC's social housing arm, he's overseen a broadening of focus to cater for people who qualify for the government's income-related rent subsidy program. Under his stewardship, Accessible Properties owns and manages New Zealand's largest non-governmental social housing portfolio, with around 3,000 homes across the country. He's currently involved in a joint venture with Ngāti Toe Rangatira to develop around 1,000 affordable homes. Sir Paul is a director of Cordia, a state-owned telecommunications company, and as a council member of the University of Waikato, he's been directly involved in bringing a new university campus to Tauranga. As a founding director, he donated a significant sum to the university for the development of the Adams High Performance Sports Centre in Tauranga, now home to New Zealand Rugby Sevens. He was a board member of the Correspondence School, Te Kura, for 4 years. Sir Paul has provided philanthropic support to a range of sports, arts and community events around the North Island.
Arise, Sir Paul.
Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Dr. Judith Aitken of Paikakariki for services to local government, the community and education. Dr. Judith Aitken was a councillor for the Greater Wellington Regional Council and sat on the Council's Te Upoko Taio Environmental Wellbeing and Social and Cultural Wellbeing Committees. She was chair of the Capital and Coast District Health Board. Dr. Aitken is a member of the Carter National Observatory Board, the Karori Wildlife Sanctuary Board, and the Holocaust Centre of New Zealand Board. She's a trustee of the Citizenship Trust. Dr. Aitken was Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Women's Affairs and Chief Review Officer of the Education Review Office. She served on the New Zealand Teachers' Council Review. Dr. Aitken is currently collating 4 oral histories, one on disabled women succeeding in their chosen fields, and one on the history of women in the public service typing pools. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Ms. Claire Aitken of Dunedin for services to rehabilitative programs. Claire Aitken is director of the Downey Stewart Foundation, a Dunedin-based program for the rehabilitation of offenders. She's provided special care and therapy to at-risk individuals, as well as reconnecting clients to their Māoritanga and families. She has secured external funding, organised community fundraising events, and fostered connections with local Maori representatives. Her fundraising efforts have enabled the Foundation to expand its treatment of those affected by methamphetamine. She helped initiate a national training program, Te Take Take. Ms. Aitken shares her expertise in rehabilitation services with audiences across New Zealand, and has mentored interns from Otago Polytechnic and from the University of Otago's social work and psychology programs. Dr. Robert Crawford of Hanmer Springs for services to mental health and addiction services. Dr. Robert Crawford was the superintendent of the Queen Mary Hospital in Hanmer Springs, a residential alcohol and drug treatment centre from 1976 to 1991. Under his leadership, the hospital became a centre of excellence for expanding the treatment modalities for families affected by addiction and the training of people working in treatment and rehabilitation. Dr. Crawford established a successful Kaupapa Maori Taha Maori program, Te Aroha o Tō Hau Angiangi. He authored a number of publications and served in various national governance and advisory roles. Dr. Crawford served as director of the Christchurch Institute for Training in Psychodrama and was awarded distinguished membership of the Australian and New Zealand Psychodrama Association. Mr. Jim Davis of Blenheim for services to Maori art, the Catholic Church and the community. Jim Davis has produced traditional Maori carved furnishings and artworks for Catholic parishes throughout New Zealand since the 1960s. He led the establishment of Tawhiti a Maru Marae in Wairoa and designed the Whare Kai at Te Hora Marae in Canvastown. He produced carved panels with the names of everyone baptized at 5 parishes around New Zealand. His carvings can be found in the United Kingdom, the United States, Australia, Ireland, and the Philippines. Mr. Davis has been involved with the Nelson and Marlborough hospices as a biographer, and he established the men's sheds in Waimea and Blenheim to provide social opportunities for older, isolated men. Ms. Marie Fitzpatrick of Wellington for services to the community. Marie Fitzpatrick founded the charity Good Bitches Baking, GBB, with Ms. Nicole Murray. GBB's volunteers deliver home baking to organisations working with people in tough situations, including families with children in hospital, people using food banks and soup kitchens, residents and their loved ones in hospice, and women and children fleeing family violence. Established with just 15 people in Wellington, GBB has since grown to become a national registered charity with more than 20 chapters around the country and more than 2,000 active volunteers. Ms. Fitzpatrick and Ms. Murray developed and delivered a robust operational system and continue to actively fundraise to ensure the system remains sustainable. Ms. Nicole Murray of Wellington for services to the community. Nicole Murray founded the charity Good Bitches Baking, GBB, with Ms. Marie Fitzpatrick. GBB's volunteers deliver home baking to organisations working with people in tough situations. Established with just 15 people in Wellington, GBB has grown to become a national registered charity with more than 20 chapters around the country and more than 2,000 active volunteers. Ms. Murray and Ms. Fitzpatrick developed and delivered a robust operational system and continue to actively fundraise. Recently, Ms. Murray established a Prison Bake initiative for GBB, a 9-week pilot encouraging compassion and teaching baking to inmates at a Wellington prison and delivering their baking to Women's Refuge and the Children's Hospital. Ms. Naomi Shaw of Lower Hutt for services to softball. Naomi Shaw played for the New Zealand women's softball team and is the only female captain to win a World Championship medal. She was assistant coach at 3 World Championships and head coach at a further 3. She was head coach of the New Zealand White Sox, helping them achieve 8th in world ranking. She's coached the junior White Sox team and led the Hutt Valley Women's National League team to 5 successive titles, and the Hutt Valley U19 and U18 team to 3 successive titles. Ms. Shaw has played for, administered and coached the local Saints softball club in the Hutt Valley for more than 55 years. Mrs. Linda Surtees of Lower Hutt for services to children and the state. Linda Surtees is CEO of Fostering Kids New Zealand, which under her guidance has increased its membership of caregivers from 2,400 to more than 5,000. She was a member of the ministerial reference group that established the Extraordinary Care Package for Children in Permanent or whānau care and continues as chair of the Extraordinary Care Fund panel. Mrs. Surtees contributed her knowledge to the expert advisory panel, Modernising Child, Youth and Family, and was part of a cross-sector group of practitioners with expertise in working with children and families. Ms. Surtees has been involved in developing the new National Care Standards and in running information sharing sessions for caregivers nationwide. Dr. Benjamin Williams of Porirua for services to theology and the community. Dr. Benjamin Williams is a founding member of local Agape Bible colleges and is currently the Chief Principal and Director, having established 12 Bible colleges in New Zealand and abroad. He currently teaches theology, sociology, and cross-cultural communication. As a pastor, he's been involved in family counselling services, seminars, and preaching. He founded and is currently president of La Malamalama Bible School of Ministry. He established the first Assemblies of God in the Tuvalu Islands. He's helped to direct several religious services and has established churches throughout Wellington and Auckland. Dr. Williams has undertaken training courses in social work and planning for children in care. Your Excellency, to receive the Queen's Service Medal, Mr. Te Wana Aranui of Napier for services to Māori and education. Te Wana Aranui has held positions with the Māori Advisory Board for the Napier City Council and the Te Kohanga Reo National Trust. He is a kaumātua in Napier and has advocated for whānau, hapu and iwi as a kaiako and coach to the Hawke's Bay District Health Board and chair of the Puke Moki Moki Marae. He supported the Napier Office of the Ministry of Education and has led cultural and learning development for staff and students, including overnight stays at local marae. At the Marae Nui Rugby and Sports Association Committee, Mr. Aranui has coached children from disadvantaged backgrounds. Mr. Andrew Bicknell of Wellington for services to music. Andrew Bicknell established and runs the Wellington Bluegrass Society. Over the past 28 years, he's established an internationally recognized venue and following for performers to showcase their music. He's organized at least 2 concerts every month, coordinated all negotiations with artists and service providers, and handled all bookings and ticketing. Mr. Bicknell also writes regular newsletters, creates the graphic design for the Society, creates website content, organises workshops and music camps, has helped connect those who need tuition or instrument repairs, and has been a point of contact for those wanting information or assistance with music. The late Mr. Fraser Cameron of Oportiki for services to the community in theatre. Fraser Cameron was president of the Oportiki and District's 10,000 Club, which promoted Oportiki and the surrounding district and served on the committee. He joined the Oportiki Chamber of Commerce in 1964 and chaired the Nukuteri Scout Committee. He was a founding member of the Oportiki Deluxe Theatre Community Trust and was involved in several capacities. He was a trustee of the Oportiki Drama and Education Charitable Trust and was president and treasurer of the Oportiki Rotary Club. Mr. Cameron provided the sound system from the Oportiki Anzac Day parades and Armistice Day services. Mr. Cameron's insignia will be received by his son Stuart today. Mrs. Shirley Christie of Whanganui for services to the community. Shirley Christie was an active Justice of the Peace for many years, serving on the executive of the Whanganui and District Justices of the Peace Association. She sat on the Whanganui District Court bench as a judicial JP and was a visiting justice to Whanganui and district prisons. Mrs. Christie was president of Birthright Whanganui and vice president of Birthright New Zealand. She was a social worker in the Drug and Alcohol Assessment Unit at the Whanganui Hospital and part of the Alcohol and Drug Education Committee. Mrs. Christie helped establish Whanganui's first women's refuge and chaired the Whanganui Medical Foundation. Mr. Mervyn Cranefield of Dunedin for services to Scouting and the community. Mervyn Cranefield has had a key role in supporting the Scouting movement, serving as Otago Area Training Leader, Otago Area Treasurer and Secretary, and Honorary Commissioner. He was a member of the national training team on courses held at Tatum Park, Levin from 1967 to 1984, and helped establish the first 3 cub packs in Alexandra. He's provided voluntary auditing services to many Otago community groups. He contributed to conservation through the Yellow-Eyed Penguin Trust by volunteering as treasurer. Mr. Cranefield has provided guidance as a voluntary treasurer, board member, and president of the Dunedin Sinfonia. Mrs. Margaret Swinburne of Greymouth for services to athletics. Margaret Swinburne has served the Greymouth Athletic Club as an athlete, official and administrator, and is currently patron and secretary of the club. She's liaised with local primary and secondary schools to provide the club's grounds for their annual school sports days. She's been the principal liaison person for the entirety of the West Coast Schools Athletics Championships. Mrs. Swinburne has spent many hours in schools as a volunteer, Kiwi Sport Coordinator, promoting and delivering the Run, Jump, Throw program, an entry-level program for young children. She's also volunteered her time to the local West Coast community. Mrs. Gayleen Vivian of Palmerston North for services to family support and health. Gayleen Vivian is a committee member, support coordinator and former secretary for the Manawatu Horewhenua branch of the SANS support group, which supports families who've lost a baby. She's responsible for the SANS family room at Palmerston North Hospital, voluntarily trains midwives and doctors on baby loss, and organises memorial occasions. Mrs. Vivian is a member of the Palmerston North Hospital Working Party, looking into ways to care for mothers in the event of a death of a baby. Mrs. Vivian and her husband established a fundraising event for the local SANS group called Miles in Memory. Mr. Nigel Weeks of Nelson for services to music. Nigel Weeks has been head of music at several schools, including his current school, Nayland College. He's led bands and choirs to win national awards and Australasian titles and toured them to international festivals. He auditioned and directed the National Youth Brass Band and the National Secondary Schools Band. He's director of the National Brass Band of New Zealand and musical director of the Nelson City Brass Band. Mr. Weeks has been director of the Howick School of Music and conducted the Nelson Male Voice Choir. He's music director of the Nelson Symphony Orchestra and Nelson Civic Choir. Mrs. Denise Wood of New Plymouth for services to the community. Denise Wood is a retired nurse who now volunteers for the New Plymouth District Council and the New Zealand Red Cross. She's a member of the New Zealand Merchant Navy Association and has promoted knowledge and understanding of the sacrifices made by seafaring nurses during the First World War. She's also undertaken work for the RSA, including as a volunteer receptionist. Mrs. Wood is a committee member for the University of the Third Age and has provided volunteer support for the homeless and refugees resettling in her local community. Your Excellency, the investiture is concluded.
An investiture ceremony is the most important event that I hold on behalf of Her Majesty, the Queen of New Zealand. It allows me, as Governor-General, to recognise and thank an extraordinary group of people on behalf of all New Zealanders. By using their talents to make ours a better society, whether by service to their communities or by their leadership in diverse fields, or their commitment to excellence in their own field of expertise, our recipients have set a fine example to others, encouraging them in their own endeavours. To the recipients, it's been a privilege to hear your stories today. You've demonstrated determination, commitment, and compassion in your daily lives. In your own way, each of you has helped make New Zealand a better place to live. In some cases, your influence and the positive impact of your work has extended beyond our shores. Your actions and the stories we've heard reflect the spirit of the words of another great New Zealander, Sir Paul Callaghan, who said, "What greater sense of fulfilment can there be but to make a difference to the community in which you live?" Your contributions have enriched the cultural, social and economic fabric of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Please wear your insignia with pride, knowing that your communities appreciate and value your work and are inspired by your example. On behalf of the Queen of New Zealand and all New Zealanders, I congratulate you on your achievements and I thank you for your service to our country. Kia ora whiwhi tātou katoa. Ladies and gentlemen, that almost brings to an end the formal part of today's ceremony. But before we conclude and go through for refreshments, may I ask you to stand and join me in singing our national anthem in Māori and in English.